Good morning, my fish friends. It's Dory and it's Sunday morning. You probably won't get this video until later today, but it is Sunday morning. There's been a ton of changes in my fish room since the last time I uploaded a video, and I wanted to just tell you all about it. This is once again my betta fish. I think I introduced him in the last video. I've had him, I'd have to say, about a year, and just about a year. And his fins have just never been right. They have always just looked raggedy and nasty, and I have tried everything from API fin and body to general cure to antibiotics. Gosh, I have tried everything I can possibly think of, even adding salt or Epsom salts to the water, either one, just to try to harden it up a bit. I've tried everything, and he stays healthy. He eats. He's not got a problem with any of that. He just has ugly fins, and he was beautiful when I bought him, so I don't know what the problem is. Anyway, he now lives by himself. There was a period of time that I had him in my 46-gallon bow front with just some neon tetras, but he ate all but one. Well, didn't eat them, just killed them. And he now is named Butthead and lives by himself in this beautiful little 5-gallon portrait tank. And please forgive the clown puke gravel, as some people like to call it. I use what I can get my hands on, cheap or free, and that just happened to be something that came with a tank I bought through Craigslist. So there you go. But it's a nice planted little tank. The temperature is perfect for him. It sits around 79 degrees, I think. Well, I don't think, I know. And he's perfectly happy. He just has ugly fins. Anyway, that is Butthead. Let's move on to the next tank. Here we have my 29-gallon, and it is currently full of baby plecos. Well, not plecos really, bristlenose and cistrus. And even though you see mostly snails on the glass right now, sometimes in the morning there's nothing but babies all blackening the glass. So I'm going to point down here and you can see why they're not on the glass. They're all having their breakfast. They got green beans last night overnight, and now this morning they got algae wafers. And I have some that are about 5 or 6 weeks old. You can see examples of them on the back glass there. They're about 1.25 inches long now, something like that. And then the tiniest ones that you see down there on their breakfast are just about, I want to say 3 weeks old. I'll have to look back at the dates to be sure, but I think they're about 3 weeks old. The male, their father, is still in this tank with them because I don't want any more babies right now. I think I tried to count them up, and I've got somewhere total between the large ones, which I've already given a few away, and rehomed a couple to other tanks for myself. Anyway, between the large ones and the small ones, I have at least 100 baby plecos in here. This is a 29-gallon tank. I know they will outgrow it way sooner than I would like, but the large ones are almost ready to go to the pet store, which has already made a bargain with me for them. And so that's this one. I have a bio wheel, a Marineland, I don't know what it is, a 200 or something, of bio wheel filter, and a sponge filter on this tank. I keep a sponge filter in every tank except right now one, because I have it in another tank for the added uh, 'cause, 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 ' biofiltration because I was waiting on the new filter to come, and the filter has come and I installed it, but I'm leaving this sponge filter in there until I feel comfortable with pulling it out because the bio wheels have picked up the balance. Anyway, so here's this, the 29 gallon. I will be moving these fish around as necessary, but probably in another week or so I'll be taking the largest ones to the pet store. Here is my 50 gallon. It's the newest addition to my collection, and I've had it about a month or maybe 3 or 4 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks maybe. No, I don't know. Anyway, I'll have to look at the dates on that too. This one, believe it or not, it's a 50 gallon glass, came with the stand, a Marineland 350, Penguin 350 bio wheel, heaters, air pumps, gravel, some plastic plants as you can see down here, all kinds of stuff, and it was only $75 on Craigslist. And I have my male guppies and my male platies in here, and my one single male swordtail. I rehomed all my other swordtails. They were just too prolific. My friends tease me about the water at my house and how they won't drink it when they come to visit because everything has babies in my tank, it seems like. As you saw, the Ancestris went crazy with 2 batches in a row, less than 3 weeks apart, the same pair. And anyway, here's my male guppies. I literally had to move them out of the tank because I had so many guppies. They were just going crazy. So these guys are thinking they're getting a second breakfast. So this is the 50 gallon, and this is the one that's missing the sponge filter because I have it over here in my 55 gallon, and there it is right there. This is my 55 gallon. Not a lot has changed in this one since my last video, other than I took all the male swordtails out and put the little crooked backed females back in here. And I have a ton of babies. And once again, just because I want to film them, they're probably all in hiding, but where did they go? There's some small ones, but we're going to, there's one, but yesterday I was looking around in here and there were even a couple of babies that still had their yolk sacs on them for the last couple days. And I don't know if they're guppies or if they are neon tetras possibly, or Siamese algae eaters. Everything else in here is a catfish or a pleco. So I would think that those babies would be behaving differently than the guppy babies. So I don't know. We'll see. And please ignore the algae. I keep it under control, but I leave a certain amount in here at all times for all of my algae eating and off-flux grazing critters. And I just got 2 brand new Marineland Penguin 350s in, and one went in this tank. And so I'm waiting a couple, 3 weeks for the biofiltration to up its game, so to speak, and then I will move that extra sponge filter back into the other tank. I keep the sponge filters on purpose along with the hang-on backs because we have frequent and sometimes prolonged power outages here, and I need something to keep the aeration and the flow and everything up in my tanks until I can get home from work when the power happens to go out, and or my husband can get home, and we can get the generator turned on to run the tanks. So I have battery backup air pumps on just about every tank. The only one I don't have one on is the Betta's tank, because he can breathe air at least from the surface until I get home. And I think the new 55 gallon doesn't have battery backup on it yet, or 50 gallon. And once again, this is my 55 gallon. I consider this my guppy tank, although it has lots of critters in it. You can look back at my last video to get a kind of a list of all the critters, but this is my 55 gallon. This is my 46 gallon bow front, and it has three large goldfish in it. The largest one is probably 7-8 inches, something like that. And I know they're too big for this tank, so don't give me a hard time about that. Although I welcome all feedback, good and bad and indifferent. The reason that they're in there is just to get through this coldest weather before I can put them back out in the pond in maybe March. And believe it or not, since putting them in here, they have spawned and spawned and spawned. That's part of the reason the water looks so milky, is because they just keep spawning, and I can't keep up with the cloudiness with the water changes. I can change the water, and the next day it's all cloudy again. As you can see, some of this behavior you're seeing is spawning behavior. This is my female, the great big fat one back there, and that one back there is a rescue male that I rescued this last summer at about 2.5 inches long, and he's now pushing 6 inches, I think. And then that's a male back there as well. And speaking of which, let's see if we can see it. I actually have a baby goldfish that I saved from that tank from one of their spawns. But he's so tiny still that I don't know if we can see him. Usually I have to use a flashlight to track him down, but he's been in here for a couple weeks now. Something like that. Anyway, he's in here. I'll probably have to make a separate video on him and get the flashlight out to pinpoint him in the tank. Anyway, I have a baby goldfish in here from one of their most recent spawns. There we go. There's my tank again. I'm sorry about the bad photography. It just is what it is. I only have my iPhone to shoot with, and so I also brought in the pond lilies from outside, and they were dying back. They're a hardy pond lily, but I brought them in as sort of an added benefit to the fish, and they went absolutely crazy. The top of this thing is just covered in lily pads, and I also have devil's ivy or pothos, whatever you want to call it. I have several rooted plants in this tank to help keep the nitrates down. I have small ones in my 55 gallon right here, one at each end. And then this is my 60 gallon community tank, and that is my poor Amazon sword. I had to catch some fish out of here a couple months ago because of an issue, and they were so hard to catch that I beat the daylights out of the poor sword plant, and what you're seeing is the damaged result of beating the plant up so bad. You can see I gave it some more root tabs, and you can see there's all this beautiful new growth in the center, but the outside edges look like heck. And I've been too concerned about accidentally cutting one of my fish, so I have not got in there and trimmed it off. I have lots of these neon blue rainbow wag platies, that's a mouthful, in here, and this beautiful pearl scale black lace, I don't know, all kinds of names, angelfish. And And I have, he's back in there, all you can see is his tail. I have a Farlowella in there, and a Hillstream Loach. And you can just, where did he go? You can just back in there see one of my Coolie Loaches. They tend to like to hang out inside this cave right here that I put in for the pleco. And I have a beautiful large pleco. There is my Hillstream Loach. I only have one. I did have a couple, but only one made it long term. What else do I have in here? Oh, I have a couple of zebra danios. They're kind of concerned that maybe they have either they're very little piglets or they have some kind of worms or something, because they are extremely fat. And I know there's a male and a female because they had one spawn, but then they quit spawning after that. And I may have something to do with the reason that they're so fat. What else do I have in here? Oh, I have auto sinkless that hide in the back. You never see them in the daytime or when the lights are on. And a gazillion little baby platies back in there in the grass and stuff. There's one small one at least, but there's a bunch. There's a bunch of things going on in this tank, and you can see the pothos roots coming down in this one, and the new intake, the intake for the new Marineland 350 I put on here. So there we go. There's my 60-gallon, used to be a lovely show tank. Now it's just kind of a mess. And but the fish are happy, and that's all that matters. And I have a doorway back there that usually has a light on behind it, but I turned it off last night and haven't felt up to crawling behind the tank to plug it back in today. And that's it. 60-gallon, 46-gallon, 55-gallon betta tank, 50-gallon male tank, basically. This is where I put all my males to keep from having any more babies than I absolutely have to. And the 29-gallon grow out tank for the time being for my ancestress bristlenose plecos. And I also have a 2.5-gallon little hospital tank, but it's dry at the moment, dry docked underneath one of the fish tanks. And then the other change that I thought you might be interested in, it's a long video, I'm sorry, is how I organized my cabinets. This is my fish food and medications and filter floss and stuff. And here is some more organization of the little things like syringes and all kinds of little buggers there. And under this one, we not only have the drawers and the test kits and extra all that stuff, but I also have all of my tools and other useful things hanging on the insides of the doors. And it has been working out very, very well. And then underneath the other 50-gallon in the dining room, I have things like the extra pump, extra gravel, the little 2.5-gallon, all kinds of things like that in there that are too big to organize in shelves and drawers and etc., etc. And I'll leave you guys with this one last look at my beautiful and fun guppy tank. God bless you guys, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful weekend and a happy new year.